right around 7 o'clock here, and we're going to get the feed started for the evening here. So I am essentially, before I get into anything, I'm going to allow a few individuals to get here into the room on the live session. As you come into the room, as usual, go ahead and just give me the okay that you can hear everything okay. Let me know who's in the room, that we know kind of who I'm interacting with. And as the room fills up here a little bit, we'll kind of get into the meat and bones of tonight's program. We're going to talk about a multitude of different things, which would include some new ball releases that were just came out yesterday from the brands of Brunswick. We're definitely going to talk a little bit about our Labor Day sale, which is coming up here after the actual holiday. And then I thought maybe we just talk a little bit about kind of bowling in general and just kind of like an open forum since we're getting ready to kind of get into the league season and kind of kick it off. So, again, as you're coming into the room, give me an okay. Everybody can hear on sound. Drop me a quick hello so I can kind of just interact with you guys from the start. And then we'll get started talking about a few bowling balls. So, who is all out there at this point? Drop me a line in the comments section here, and I will get started here in a minute. Feel like it's been forever since I had an opportunity to kind of get on here and talk to everybody. Actually, it's the first time I was able to do a broadcast since before the tour started for the girls this year. One of the last programs we did was with Brandy Korolewski, which was one of our mainstays out on tour. Had an amazing year. But now that we're home, we're going to get back into doing pretty much our weekly broadcasting and bringing you information I think is pertinent to making some of the best choices you can when it comes into purchasing of bowling balls and getting the service that you need. So, what's going on, Sean? It's good to see you last night. I did not crack open one of those pollinators yet, but that may happen tonight as a little birthday gift there. Rich, how you doing? Corey Kaler, hope you're doing great, my man. Anxious to hear about the Envy. It's good to hear because I think the Envy is going to be one of the really special ones, and that's probably the one I'm the most excited for as well. Mark is on, and yes, I am sporting the Alvernia garb here. As many of you know, Carrie and myself have started a brand new polling program at Alvernia University. We're kind of in the middle of a big recruitment year here, and our girls will be competing on an NCAA level starting in the 2023/24 campaign. So it's going to be a pretty awesome opportunity. Honestly, I can't wait to get started and kind of build a program from the ground up and be able to have our input and kind of, not only mold these young ladies when it comes to quality education, but to help them with their goals, on and off the lane. So we're pretty excited about that. But it looks like we got a whole bunch of people that are coming in here and dropping in. So why don't we get kind of started on kind of, the meat and bones of what's going on. So, I put a little question mark up when I kind of put the teaser out on Monday. Yes, I knew there were some new ball announcements coming out. There was some teasers that went out across the different pages from Brunswick. And we essentially just wanted to get a little build up and get excited about these new releases that are coming out. And what better way? But we'll kind of start in the hammer side of the brand. So myself and Carrie, who happens to be bowling tonight, we're both on Hammer staff. We represent the 7 brands, and I think these two are probably the ones that I'm most looking forward to because as even though I have the opportunity to throw all 7 brands of our equipment, the majority of my bag is made up of hammer balls. And essentially, I kind of add in the ones from the other 7 brands, the ones I feel are really special, because I like to stay with a brand, kind of make an arsenal from top to bottom, makes it a little easier. It's something we talk about a lot. So when we talk about the 2 brand new ones, so one of them is going to be which is the Envy, is going to be a brand new kind of nameplate in the Hammer brand. And then we're going to also have the Scorpion Sting, which is going to be a continuation of the popular Scorpion that came out. That looked real good. If you remember back for Parker Bowen III, if you ever heard of that guy, looked real good on that on TV when it first came out. But when we talk about the Envy, okay, the first and foremost, the thing you really want to think about when you think about this release is think about a ball that is essentially taking over where the Redemption Solid series kind of fit in the arsenal. Okay, so the Redemption Solid, if you remember, was the orange, black, and white. That was our biggest motor, basic asymmetric ball, biggest amount of traction. It was your big oil ball. Okay, so the good thing about the Envy is it's going to kind of slide right in there and give you perfect complements where if you need a motion that is just a little more than what you saw maybe out of the original Obsession, it wasn't time to get into Obsession Tour, you want to stay on the asymmetrical side of the bag, you have a bigger, better option that's going to be out there. So the neat thing is, if you looked at the core, this is an absolutely brand new core for the Hammer line. So this is going to be introducing the launcher core, and if you look at it, it's a pretty intricate core where you have basically the big flip block on the top, and then a void, and underneath that is where you have that radial disc that's on it. And basically what it's doing is it's a continuation of going back from what the Ebonite side of the brands did for years, which was had dual density releases, dual density blocks. So essentially they were able to kind of move the mass around from the center of the core. And as they moved that, whether it was, back in the days, positive, negative, so top or bottom, they could basically determine what they wanted to do with the imbalance of the bowling ball to make it do different things in terms of traction in the middle or the body of the lane. Okay, so they can really fine tune the core to match up with the cover stock on the outside to give you a release that's distinctly different from one another with just minor changes of where they're actually going to make that mass property on the ball move to. So when you looked at the techie numbers of that, all right, this ball is going to come in at kind of a higher RG, but it's got a high diff and high intermediate diff. So 2505, 055, 021. So when you compare that, and we talked about this kind of like as a complement to the Obsession, that regular Obsession was slightly lower RG. It was in the 245 or 246 range, a little less differential and a little less intermediate diff, meaning when it rolled forward off the back of the pattern, it wasn't as heavy as a roll. So you're going to get a completely different ball motion that's going to more mimic something that you saw on the Redemption Solid line and give you that big traction piece you need to kind of combat heavy oil, whether it's on a sport pattern or if you're an individual that, bowls league and kind of prefers to get left a little quicker and you use a lot of the head oil in the front, you're going to get enough traction with this Envy that's going to allow you to use the bigger ball in a league environment. So pretty cool option on that. When you get over into the other release, which is the Scorpion Sting, the Scorpion Sting is going to take a familiar cover, okay, that's been used in the past. So it has the Simtex cover on it, the Simtex Pearl. Now, the Scorpion core in itself, while it is an LED core, it has been updated to 3.0, which again is just another way to increase it's actually going to lower the RG of the ball, okay? It's going to make it start up a little bit sooner, but it's going to increase the overall differential to make the ball flare more, all right? But what they did is they actually paired it with what I'll call one of our smoothest Pearl Simtex covers. Now, you're kind of going way back here a little bit, but when you think back to some older releases that were real popular, if you remember back to the Black Widow Gold, now not the Black Gold, the actual Black Widow Gold, and the limited edition release that came out, which had like the red, white, and blue color to it, that cover was on both of those balls, along with going back into the Phobia lines. So going back a few years to kind of find that actual cover stock formulation. But what it's doing is it's taking that LED core, which is proven, and if you really think about it, that original LED core is in our urethane purple hammers. Okay, it's in the black hammer. It's LED. So it's a rendition of that core. Then they're going to take that and they're going to put it on a smoother pearl cover and increase the actual differential for it to flare more. So it's going to give you a very distinct motion down lane, as opposed to where the hybrid might have felt like, once it got to a certain point, felt like it wasn't quite enough distance-wise. And if it did get through the front part of the lane, the kind of motor of the ball kind of ran out of gas a little bit. This one's going to take over and corner a little better for you down lane. What's going on, Chris? And Jason, yes, I did say meat. Wait, what? I said the meat. Looks like Caitlin's on here. Caitlin, hope you're doing well. David down from West Virginia. How we doing, my man? So again, you got a good compliment, and I think the most exciting part to me is that now we're getting to the point where come December we're going to be about 2 years into the acquisition from when Brunswick bought Ebonite International, and through all the releases that have gone on and formulations and building balls to specifications that match just like what we enjoyed down in Hopkinsville, they're really just taking the information and the data and everything that the old Ebonite side was really good at, and they're doing a continuation of these legacy brands to essentially offer you motions that you've enjoyed for years upon years, but they're just taking the cover stock formulations and the cores, and they're just making them better to match the environments of what we're bowling on today. So you're getting evolution at the same time that you're getting some nostalgic presence in there, and when you blend those together, you're getting some ball motions right now that is raising the eyebrows of not just the individuals who like the 7 brands that we offer, but I guarantee you we're making a lot of noise, whether it's on the women's tour, the guys tour, your local tournament scene, and or just in your league environment, that these balls they're plain old good. Okay, they're a mainstay, they're sought after, and I'm telling you, they fly off our shelves faster than I get them in. So pretty cool stuff that we got going on. We got 2 more balls that I'm going to kind of briefly go over. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit about the Labor Day sale. But as it's going on, and I'm kind of talking through the last 2 and kind of giving you maybe some ideas of, hey, this might be something that I might want to get on pre-order to make sure that I have it right when it releases on September 24th. Think about questions you may have with your upcoming league season, or some questions. It could be a comparison of other balls and what might fit your game, or just anything that maybe you want to pick my brain about when it comes from a coaching perspective, pro shop side of it, whatever comes to mind. There is no poor questions, and I promise you I'll do my best to get to each and every one of them while we're on the feed, because honestly, I miss talking to everybody. I love being on here. I love talking about bowling. And trying to help educate and any person that I can impact for the game to enjoy it as much as I do, it kind of fulfills what kind of drives me each and every day. So let's jump over to, I'll tell you what, we got 2 other ones which are going to bring back, again, the nostalgic nameplate of a ball, bringing back some familiar ball motions from the past to essentially bring it into up to speed with what we're seeing for today's environments. But let's go into the Ebonite, okay? Ebonite, the 1 remix, okay? The 1. The bowling ball was on every single rack back in the day, and they essentially said, you know what, we need to go to the drawing board here. We want to reintroduce the 1, kind of like we did with our Widow lines, but we want to get one, similar to some of the throwbacks you saw with like the Power Torx and things like that, where we want to make a ball as close to what everybody felt like that ball gave them back when the environment was what it is. So basically, we're just going to enhance these bowling balls, try to get that same kind of generalized shape. And the fact that the 1 remix literally looks like the original, the 1, when you put one side by side, the colors, that they got in there, the way just like the swirl and the pores that went with this ball, it looks the same, right? So it's like it literally takes you down memory lane when you kind of see one sitting there going, wow, man, if this one rolls half as good as it looks, it's a win. But they actually took the original Centrex SimCore. So it's the exact same core that it was in the original 1 years ago when it was released. And all they did was they took a continuation of the cover stock. So if you go back and you look at an original, the 1, and I don't remember if I'm going to get this number right. I'm going off the top of my head. I want to say the original 1 was like a GB 10.4, maybe 10.3. Somebody out there may have one in front of them, might get it right on the head. But there's so many changes that have gone on to the cover stock of the bowling ball. This one is 14.4, but it's still a continuation of that cover stock that was used through all these years, and all we're doing is making the enhancements and the additives and stuff to match the extra oil being put on a lane, the types of patterns that we're bowling on, the actual shapes of the pattern we're bowling on. So everything that we're doing from an R&D side is essentially to try to maintain the performance of the ball, but bring it into the environment of today. So again, when you look at the numbers of this one, I think the coolest thing about this is how it's going to complement some other balls within the Ebonite line if you were just throwing Ebonite balls, right? So this is the low RG, the 2466. It has a high differential of 056 and then a high intermediate diff of 027. So you get that just big motor ball, lower RG, quick revving, great through the pins, and it completely complements, in my mind, the Envision in that line, and then also like the Polaris Solid and the Polaris Hybrid. Okay, so you basically have these amazing asymmetrical step downs that you can stay within that side of your bag before you're even getting into the symmetrics with, game breakers and things along those lines. But, they got the Polaris, which was, bright, colorful ball, their earliest motion, right? And then now you have an Envision that came out after that was a cleaner version of that, really good through the pins. And now, here we go, and we're going into one remix, and we're going to get another Centric Sim Core that's going to complement these one-on-one that you can just go easily from your progressions from one to the next to the next to the next. So if you're an individual that loves Ebonite branded bowling balls, they really have one of the most complete lines. I like to say, in our lines, I think sometimes we think just, Brunswick and Hammer probably are the mainstays from the most complete lines. Ebonite's right there with it. And as we're filling in things on the track side and Columbia and Deviate and Radical, it's just kind of awesome to kind of see the lines from the top to bottom and have bowling balls that complement each other. That'll make you feel like you could throw just one of these brands alone and feel like you have the most complete arsenal in the game. So, again, this is one, and not taking anything from the Envy and the Sting and stuff like that, I think they're going to sell, but the one remix, this is going to be one that you're going to want to get pre-ordered because this one's going to back up. Guarantee these are going to be out of stock after a while, back in stock, out of stock, back in stock. It's just going to be supply and demand. I think they're going to sell at an incredible rate. It's one you're going to want to lock yourself into pretty quickly, whether it's with Pure Bowling or your local pro shops. I would get on the list right away for it. The next one, we're going back even further, right? So we're going to jump over onto the Columbia side, and I think Columbia's done a pretty awesome job when you kind of think of the nameplates that are kind of coming back, that are being mainstays and kind of revamping that Columbia line. So we've seen it in the Power Torques. We've seen it in the Messengers. We saw it in, a couple times over, and here we are. We're going to come in, and now here it is again. Bang, we got a CUDA coming, okay? We get that maroon color, a little bit of black swirl that's in that one. But, growing up for me, going back into, my youth, CUDAs and CUDA Cs and Super CUDAs and things along those lines, all those balls, it just brings back all the feels, right? All the feels and, that nostalgic presence, like it just makes me actually want to put this ball in my hand. And I'm laughing in my mind because, like, last night I was talking to Schaefer, Ryan Schaefer, and he was throwing a Messenger last night. We kind of talked through it ahead of time, and he drilled up a solid blue one for Del Ballard this week on the wood, and drilled up with one of his favorite layouts. And he went out through it, and he texted me, and he's like, "Hey, it's just one of those balls that when it's in your hand, it just feels right, right? Like it just has that feel like." This is what I feel is going to happen when we get into this CUDA, right? It's just that nostalgic piece it's going to have in my hand, and I can't wait for it. So now this one, they're going to do the same thing. They updated that CUDA core a little bit, and one of the reasons for that is if you remember way back to the CUDAs and then into the ceramic core, they literally were in their truest form ceramic core. Like you couldn't put it in an older ball with a ceramic core because your bit would go down, and as soon as you hit that, you ain't drilling into it, right? So you were stuck with slugs, and there was safe zones that you could drill these balls. This one's updated for that very reason, so they essentially can, you can drill anywhere, within there. You don't have any restrictions to where you're going to be able to drill into the ball, but this is another one, too, where they actually took the flip block and kind of moved the mass around a little bit away from the center of the core. So they could actually change basically the dynamics of the ball and actually get it to the point where you're creating more imbalance, kind of a bigger footprint in the body of the lane. So um, the cover stock then, I think the smart thing they did is they took one from recent ball, which was the Power Torque, which is the ERT Solid, and it's a continuation of that because that ball was really good in terms of it wasn't a symmetrical solid bowling ball, which was used on like super heavy oil. It was more of a benchmark type piece. It had a cover stock on it that was very predictable. So again, you're going to get that in the CUDA, but you're going to get one that's going to actually flare a little more. So if you compare like a Power Torque and a CUDA in those two lines, the Power Torque is going to be a higher RG, a little cleaner, right, and not quite as much overall footprint because the differential's lower. What this is going to do is in the CUDA, it's going to have a slightly lower RG, and then the diff is higher. So you're actually going to get one that kind of sees the lane a little bit earlier. The footprint's a lot bigger, flares a little bit more, just a little more total overall ball motion out of it. So when that equates on a lane, again, here you have a 1-2 combination where you're going to have be able to take a step down off of a ball and know right away in your mind that you're going to make an easy progression sometimes and not feel like it's a gigantic jump into maybe going to too low of a ball or going to too high end of a ball. But again, super exciting ones. Again, similar to like the what I was saying about the remix is the CUDA. Again, you just see it and you know it's gonna sell, right? It's gonna go quick. Again, it's another one that I would urge you to get pre-orders in on. Just so myself or your other pro shops know how many to bring in, just to kind of make sure that we make sure everybody gets them right when they come out. But again, 4 balls there. Now, I'm going to say something because on every feed I get a lot sometimes, and I want to make sure there's not a misconception. Yeah, I'm a loyal guy for Hammer. I've been with the company for a long time between Hammer and Brunswick. And from my sales side of it, from the Pure Bowling side, yeah, we sell a ton of our 7 brands, but we do sell everything, okay? And on our side there, there's other new releases that are on there. I have no problems having a guest on that wants to talk about those, but it's not like it's a risque word. Like, there's other balls that just came in that are in the shop now that are available to the public if you're interested, like the RST X3s are in stock, the Infinite Physics are in stock. Motive had the Empire come out, and the Ambers are coming out in a little bit here, and those are all going to be in stock, along with any of the low-end releases. But like when you come down into the center, they're all there. On the global side, we got Wolverines in stock. We have the reality checks. Everything is in there, and we'll talk through those in full detail with you. But I support my company as the best that I can because I truly believe in the products that we sell. But there's no right or wrong. So if you're ever questioning or want to learn more about the other ones and you want to talk in person, it's a good thing to come down into the shop. Let me kind of look through your arsenal, see what you have. That way I can make the best recommendation for you. And if it's different brands, that's fine. We do this stuff for a living. We're businessmen, and we want you to be as comfortable as possible. And so we have everything that you're dreaming of, in stock. So we're kind of going into that aspect of it, and I'll hit some comments that I see coming through here, is we have a absolutely gigantic Labor Day sale that's going to be taking place here right after Labor Day. So just to kind of recharge the batteries and stuff, we're going to take a quick little vacation with no bowling balls. And our sale is actually going to start after that, which is going to be Tuesday, September 6th. And it will run Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of that week. So Tuesday through Friday, we're going to be in from 4 to 8, Saturday 10 to 3. Now, if there's people in the building, just like any other day of the week, we don't ever push people out. We'll stay open as long as it takes. I'm being honest with you. We are expecting hundreds of people to come through during this sale because we essentially are going to be offering more than 150, and I'm saying that it is more than 150 total brand new in-box balls at closeout pricing. And it is bowling balls. I'm going to actually have anything from some polyesters all the way up to what I'm going to call some of the gems that are coming out of my vault that I've just kind of accrued over the years. And they're not doing me any good sitting in there, so I'm essentially going to offer them up to the general public to make room because with trade show season that just happened, to give you an idea, we have over 300 brand new bowling balls coming in later this week or probably before the sale goes on. And those 300 balls are the newest ones coming to market. We need to make room for those. We want to get rid of some inventory and let you all enjoy them for discounted pricing. And we couldn't be happier to kind of offer those out. So there's not going to be any appointments needed to stop in. We're going to have extra individuals that are on site to help you make the best decision for yourself when it comes to a purchase. And then we can kind of work with you to kind of get you on the schedule to actually get the balls drilled. So there will be some drilling going on off-site, but for all my loyal customers that know, we are extremely, extremely high-volume shop where we utilize appointment times just to make sure people aren't standing around and waiting. So we'll do everything we can to drill what we can on site, but we're going to have to make some appointments, let you purchase the balls at the discounted rate. We'll give you the voucher for drilling and stuff as we talk through that, and then get you in at a time where we can actually get these. The one thing that I can't do, and I had a couple of people asking, well, hey, can you give me a list? Look, with 150 plus bowling balls, I'm not going to sit down and do a list. It's an in-store purchase only. If you know somebody locally, if you're from out of the area and you know somebody that's from the area here or somebody from the shop, just send them a text, see if we have it. They can purchase it for you and arrange from some shipping afterwards. But we want to make sure everybody comes down because we'd rather interact with you to make sure that you're getting a release or purchase that makes sense. Now, while we have the closeout sales going on, we're also going to have sales on some of the new items that came out. Now, keep in mind, bowling balls are price protected, right? A lot of the new releases have a minimum price point that you can actually sell the balls for. So just keep in mind, I'm not going below that. I don't break MRP. I'm not going to be that person. But we do have all those on site. So if it's a newer ball, maybe you're thinking about grabbing, the newest release and you want to grab something to complement it maybe from the closeout list, that's an option we can do with you. We're also going to have a follow-up. We're going to have Polypalooza coming up shortly after the Labor Day sales where we're going to have what I feel is maybe some of the even more important balls in your bag, which are the polyester spare balls. We're going to do a function where we're doing some just incredible aggressive sales just to make sure that individuals know how important these bowling balls are and to make sure that you get a plastic ball into your arsenal. Every time I go through and I do lessons with individuals or I kind of question, I'm questioning like, hey, Jeff, I want to get my average up by 10 pins. And, we start talking about it. And one of the first things I ask them is, how's your spare shooting? We go through it. I always do the fun little thing with math. Hey, every time you go 9 miss, how many pins does it cost you? Let's see the first person that can answer that correctly on the feed. So if you go 9 miss, how many pins does it actually cost you? So you're the first person on the feed that can answer it. I need to get a sip there. Let's see if it comes through here. There's a lot of advanced bowlers on here, but better know the answer to this one. That is correct. Jim Noak is correct. 11 pins. So 9 out. So if you improve by 1 spare a game, it's 11 pins. I just increased your average by 10. Your lesson's over. Okay? So you get the point. But they're important ones to have in the bag. But essentially, when you come into the sale, the majority of the stuff we're going to have is going to be 15 pounds. There is some things from every single brand. I will tell you I don't have a ton from Motive. I don't have a ton. There's quite a bit of, there's some Roto and some Storm stuff in there. But a lot of it, just the majority of it, 150 plus balls, there's going to be a lot of moving on. I'm going to be aggressive with the sales. So if you've never been there, now is the time to kind of come down and check it out. So pretty much what I wanted to say about the sale. So right now, I'm going to go kind of scroll back up here real quick and kind of see what may have came through there. Questions I might be able to answer here. So as we're doing that and kind of open forum, go ahead and fire the questions away because I'm going to keep continuing to go down the list. They can be questions about the balls we just spoke of. Maybe if you're curious if there's other new releases like you're coming in the sale that are there, fine, or other questions you have about other balls. Anything that you want to talk about bowling in general and pick my brain while you have me back here. But let's kind of go, and I'm going to go down the list here. So Jeffries, yes, love they did use the OG colors. I know you're talking about the remix on that one. Bob Moran, what's up, my man? Haven't seen you for a while. Probably too busy striking down in the New Jersey Eastern PA area there. Hope everything's well for you. Jason, do I have any 14-pound purple hammers available? Blah, 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 has them on back order. Jason, I don't know off the top of my head. I'm actually at the house right now, so I don't know if I might have a couple 14s. If not, I can check with my suppliers and see what they got, and get back to you on it. It's a pretty easy one for me to look up. Um, Jason was kind of saying there, and I think this is going off when we talked about the CUDA. He's hoping it's kind of like the Power Torque, but with a little more back end. And this kind of goes back to what we talked about with the CUDA. It is going to be a little more back end because you're going to have more flare. Okay, so at the 054 and the percentage points going up on the differential, we know the footprint's going to be bigger. Plus the RG is a little lower, so we know that ball is going to actually rev up a little quicker. So it's going to read the body and maybe not feel like where a Power Torque maybe feels like it's being a little too smooth off the back end of the pattern. Footprint being a little bigger on the CUDA, I think will make up for that and kind of see the lane a little earlier. Jason, you said something about a dark moss. Yes, we have I don't know if you're asking if we have them, but yes, we have them. Bill Nault asked if I enjoyed repping. So, yeah, let me ask you, let me answer that question for you. So, it's not the first time I've been out on tour repping, Bill. So, going back to when the PWBA tour relaunched, originally back in, I don't know, mess the year up, 2015 or 2016, I forget which one it was. I was actually out with them for the first 2 years, working for Brunswick. As kind of the first 2 years was out there by myself. And then I was joined on basically by Brian O'Keefe for one of the seasons, which is absolutely one of my closest friends, and formed a lot of really good bonds out there, and really enjoyed the repping process. The reason I kind of stepped away after that, it was mainly because of one, just career-wise. It was a little hard from working some of the corporate stuff that I did to kind of step away for kind of an entire summer. But at the same point, back then is when my original center, Cedar Lanes, in April of 2016, shut its doors. So Purett Bowling was originally at Cedar Lanes in Lebanon, PA, and many can remember that back to where the Dutchman was and the regional was hosted. And basically got to the point where I was forced to either say, okay, what am I going to do? And that's kind of where it started to kind of knew the 8-lane center that I own now was kind of sitting there vacant. And, I knew it was there, and I knew it was a big, kind of a big plunge and stuff, but I needed to make a change and make a decision about what I wanted to do with the brand and the continuation. So I had to step away from repping for a while, and that's basically I jumped in and basically said, you know what? I'm going all in. And so I took a couple years to kind of get it off the ground with, not just by myself, but the help of, some of my staff and, building the facility from the ground up with our own bare hands. It got to that point. So this past year before the season started up, been having some really good conversations the year prior with Bugsy Kelly at Brunswick and my good friend Dave Wadka and just some of the other guys in tournament at BG. And kind of thought, trying to get my interest to see if I'd be interested in going back out. And I thought it over a little bit, and I said, you know what, it's a good time to go do it. So I kind of essentially jumped back into the ring this year. And I was joined with multi-time PBA champion Mike Wolf, who was my counterpoint out there, and sprinkled a little bit with Eric Kraus as he came to some of the majors. And we had a pretty incredible year out there for the Brands of Brunswick. When you compare the field sizes, our team is very small compared to our counterparts. So we have, most weeks we had anywhere from 15 to 20 total girls in a field of usually 90 to 100. So, when you're only at 20% of the field, it's a little tougher. But, we captured 4 or 5 titles in a couple seconds, and we had at least one girl on all but one show. So when we kind of look back on the season, tons of ups, tons of growth for the team, and from my standpoint of enjoying it, it's a long haul. It's tough for anybody that's never done any type of coaching in that aspect. Um, it's rough. The days are long. Everybody is good, right? And everybody wants to win. So it's hard to balance it all. The schedule is not easy when it comes to the days and the travel and not having down days. I mean, I left the. I haven't physically touched a bowling ball to bowl myself since before tour started. So it's been about 3 months since I bowled because I was on the road for almost 2.5 straight months without coming home. Came home for 2 weeks, got crushed in the shop. My guys did a good job while I was gone. Got killed in the shop for 2 weeks. Jumped on another plane. Went out to Junior Gold to put the AU hat on for Alvernia to do some recruiting out there for a week. Came home, got some stuff done. Little mini breaks here, and now going to Nashville this coming weekend to do a little more recruiting. So it's a busy schedule, but you know what? I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I work within bowling. I do it every day of my life, and I couldn't be happier to kind of help whoever I can to be the best versions of themselves. But kind of long-winded there, but yeah, I did enjoy it, Bill, and all signs are pointing to I will be returning. The plans are to go back out there this coming year again. Chase some more titles and hopefully get a couple additional winners as well. Uh, Done. Yes, done. I do remember that. Did an excellent job. Yep, me and wife will chatted at the U.S. Open. Absolutely. It was great to catch up and chat the little bit that we could. U.S. Open is one of those that's kind of a rough one. That's a long, long week, long day. So that is a rough one to be a competitor in and to be working in any aspect. Justin, any plans for tournaments at the shop? Yeah, Justin, we did them in the past. We did a lot of King of the Hills. Mainly right now, the only reason that I haven't ran anything is since I am I'm getting back and being a little bit more stable and not being on the road quite as much. I'll be able to kind of jump in on some of the machinery. So for anyone out there that isn't 100% familiar with the center in itself, we have 8 lanes, 6 of which run fairly well. The 2 in the end, it's still up in the air what I'm going to do with them. I haven't worked on them in a while, but we have original 8230 machines in wood at the center. So the 8230s, they're a little difficult to work on at times. They're a little challenging when it comes to breakdowns and part availability and just my time to kind of jump in there or again, some of my guys in the helping hands. But once we're kind of stabilized here, I would say maybe sometime in the October time frame, you might see some, King of the Hills and stuff like that popping up. But we definitely will continue to keep those kind of restricted to the amount of people. We've always kept them small just to kind of keep them moving, don't have people stuck there for a long period of time. The other year we ran the Cheetah Championship in there that was won by Brandon Runk. That was a ton of work for us to kind of run around and try to keep it going. But you'll definitely see some things. There is definitely some things on the horizon as well for continued upgrades down on the bowling side in the center. I'm not going to disclose exactly what we're doing, but there's a lot of upgrades that are kind of being negotiated right now of what's going to happen there as we kind of gear up and try to bring the facility, as much as we have people coming into the shop and supporting that and kind of our business, we're going to turn around and continue to put it into lanes and try to offer you a facility that is, second to none, not just in the area, but overall. Looks like we have another one here. It says, are there plans to host any Pure Bowling tournaments? So that's Matt Pine. The lefties love bowling in the center because the fun fact of the center as well is that, original wood house, there's a couple pairs where there's 6 boards on from the first arrow on the left to the gutter. So these lefties love to bowl there because they got 6 boards of additional area from the foul line / first arrow to the gutter. So they got even more room than they do on any other building as well. So I like to call my left-handed friends the sewer rats. So, what else we got there? I actually thought we'd have a ton more questions. We got quite a few people that are on here now that are in there, but let's see. Oh, you're talking about, I'm sorry, Matt. Matt was referring to Pureit tournaments we had at Dutch. So what he's referring to is the big Pureit tournament. So this year, no. Um, Matt, I'm not sure if you would have been part of that or not, probably a little before you for the fundraising aspect, but for the big tournaments for Purity is referring to, we had the single largest single weekend tournament in the entire East Coast. And I've had a lot of people asking me to kind of revive it, and the only thing I keep saying to them is that it takes an incredible amount of fundraising, and the only reason we kind of paused on it, honestly, the other year was because of COVID and restrictions and things like that. And that's kind of getting past us now, but we basically need an entire year to kind of fundraise and get the amount of money, because with those tournaments we add usually a minimum of 10,000 out of our pockets to essentially throw into the prize fund. And it's our way of being able to keep the entry fees down and pay out a very large prize fund. So, yeah, it can happen. Matt, I definitely isn't going to happen here at the tail end of 22, but there's definitely, with a little bit of work and kind of the right direction, I think you might have a good chance of seeing it back in 23. Here's a good one. So, what is my opinion of string pins and or twister pins? So, obviously, two very different things, Bill, as you know. So my opinion on strings. I'm going to give you the best one I can here. So string pins are coming, okay? They are coming. They're going to get certified. So let's just get that out of the way. It's going to happen. And there's a few reasons why. But the first thing I want everybody to understand about what they saw in string pins is, I think it was the World Championships was the bad example of just how many ridiculous hits and strings knocking pins over and the worst thing you could possibly imagine happened on that particular string pin. Now, that company, I'm not going to say what company it is, their string machines are not the greatest, and that version they had in there was absolutely awful. So that is not, if you've ever bowled in a string pin facility on a good one, I know out in Pittsburgh area, they just upgraded a few of them over there, and I've bowled on them, and it is hard to strike, okay, a little bit. It is a little bit different, but when you get the averages of strings versus free falling, you're going to find out that it's going to be pretty in common and pretty in line. So I'll be honest with you, if I'm a proprietor right now, okay, and I'm going to have to make a decision to upgrade my pin setters because they're old, I'm going to put strings in. Me personally, too. Like my facility, if I change out those 8230s, they're going to be strings. And for the reason is the little bit of maintenance and the upkeep that it takes to keep them going. So it takes out some of the costs, because the one thing that's for certain is for proprietors across the country, running and maintaining and upgrading a bowling center is incredibly expensive, okay? So they essentially get to the point where they're faced with what bowling's issue is right now, okay? And bowling's biggest one right now that hurts us is that the mom and pops places that own bowling centers right now have historically not charged nearly enough for lineage, for leagues, for open play. So now that it's come time for them to upgrade facilities, or they're completely run down, and then we call them shitholes, they essentially close, or they get bought up by corporations like Bolero that has the money to put back into them, and they make them into a more of a parlor environment, because that's where the income and the influx of money is actually coming from. So it's tough. But if I was going to say embrace it, I'm telling you right now, embrace string pins. I'm not saying I prefer it, because I don't. I still would prefer a free-falling pin. But a Brunswick string machine, when you bowl in them, they are good. They are pretty. So the one thing that's holding them up from getting certified has nothing to do with the strings tangling, anything like that. The holdup of the certification of string pins is actually because of how it respots. So to give you an example, if you leave a 310 on a free fall, right? And when that happens, the 3 pin slides over a little bit, okay? This probably looks backwards for you on your screen. The 3-pin slides over a little bit and makes them wider. If a free pawing pin setter comes down and picks it up, it will bring it back down off spot, right in that spot, how it's supposed to be. The problem is, if you leave a 310 on a string, that 310 and it's off spot and it moves, when it takes it up and goes to bring it back down, it's going to bring it back dead on spot. So it's not putting the pin back as it lied. That's your hang up. That's why it is not certified yet, but trust me, they will find it real. The other one, twister pins, no, just no. Throw them away. If anybody got to watch or had to watch, and going back to the repping things, what I watched in Dallas at the last event with twister pins, they are the biggest abomination of pin that's ever been created. I have never seen that many 4.9s in my life. Blower 410s, pocket 710s, stone 8, stone 9s. They're not good. But honestly, the reason you saw twisters kind of come back here for a little bit was because if anybody that's in the industry knew that there was a shortage in the industry of Surlyn, and Surlyn is what is used as the outer coating of a pin. There was such a shortage during the pandemic in getting supplies that the pin manufacturers had to shut down. They couldn't even produce pins because they didn't have the Surlyn. They do use Surlyn in certain types of golf balls and stuff like that too, so it's a shared kind of chemical. So the only thing that they had available in the pipeline was twister pins. So proprietors, to preserve what they had, were buying twisters up and having to use them. Now we're getting to the point where we have Amflights back. We have Linz pins, which are really good. But absolutely, I am not a fan of twisters. I don't like to personally bowl on them. I don't like to see other people have to struggle on them to bowl great and just kind of, struggle to get anything going because every time they 3-bagger, they 4.9 on a slightly high hit that shouldn't be a 4.9. They don't fall right. What do we got here, Casey? Let's see. Do you plan on drilling any of the new releases for the college team? Follow up, any thoughts on how to arsenalize them? All get the same balls, Taylor balls, each bowler. So obviously I'm not going to be doing any of these brand new balls for our girls for this season just because we are not competing in this season. But to kind of follow up on the other thing, as a collegiate standpoint, when we go into basically building arsenals for these girls moving forward, I will absolutely, positively be building arsenals that have a lot of commonality, basically with covers, core combinations, and then basically utilizing the layouts differently based on that bowler's release parameters, speed, axis point, rev rate, etc., to kind of give them similar motions, because with the restricted amount of balls that they're going to be able to bring to tournaments, we want to make sure that when we're making decisions and changes when it comes to zones, we're doing so with equipment that is similar, and it cuts down on the amount of different anomalies happening when we're doing things. So if we're going to make a 2-in-1, it's mainly going to be a lot of the 2-in-1s with most of the girls depending on style, but we're going to do it with balls that make the most sense when we're making arsenal changes. You kind of really got to cut it down to the nitty-gritty. Curious to know what percentage of your shop sales are for Brunswick. It's high. We're just going to put it at that, Bill. Don. It's very, very high. I've been with them for a very long time. They have the best rebates in the industry, so I'm going to sell a lot of those brands, not just because of rebate standpoint, but because I really do feel they're proven, and I think they're, the product speaks for themselves. And again, we sell absolutely everything, so we do a good deal of sales. Storm and Roto is very strong in the area as well. I would say, if you ask my honest opinion, Motive is probably the least in my direct area, but I know they're getting pretty big up around Harrisburg. They're well supported. I think it really just depends what pocket you're in and what area you're in, but our Brunswick sales are very, very strong. Will you try again on having a women's scratch tournament? Bree, I'm going to say it's probably a no. And the only reason I'm saying this is that We had a really successful time with it the first time it was offered, and then I really struggled with the support from the scratch bowlers from just doing a women's only event. I think we were throwing a lot of money behind it, and it was like kind of pulling teeth to kind of try to get the entries. So I don't know that I will do one specific just for females. I think before I would do that, I'd probably err on the side of probably running a youth tournament. I do help out Travis Sparks, with some of his bigger ones, but there's already been some talks about potentially doing one under the Pureit umbrella, and offering some bigger prize funds and scholarships along those lines. I'm not going to completely shut it down, but something would have to kind of jump out there and kind of show us that there's some interest in us, trying to do one and kind of put the effort behind it. But we'll see. What is your opinion on the PBA getting involved in league play versus USBC? Am I allowed to plead the fifth on anything? Um, I think. All right. So here's my opinion on this. Okay, so the PBA is owned by Bolero. Okay, so Bolero is an at-profit company. All right, so they have their own model. USBC has their own model. There's a little bit of indifferences between um, essentially how USBC views things and how maybe the PBA does, or how the PBA ties in with some of the manufacturers. But I think that depending on how it is rolled out, okay, I don't feel like the certification program the PBA is doing is trying to directly replace the USBC. But I definitely don't have all the specifics on it. If it's something that's in line and it starts, I know how it says for mainly the Bolero centers first, and then they'll roll it out to other participating ones. Um, I don't know how it's all going to shake out, so it's hard for me to get an opinion. Now, if it gets so convoluted that the playing rules are so drastically different for a player between the PBA and a USBC function, then me as a pro shop and owner, and then also somebody that is from a manufacturing standpoint, I just don't want to see it get to the point where it's so convoluted that it creates a they versus us kind of mentality, or I got to try to remember three sets of different rules, or when I'm, developing a bowling ball, I got to keep this in mind if they're going to use it here, and if this in mind if they're going to use it there. I'm hoping it doesn't get to that point, but I just don't know all the specifics yet to give you a firm answer. All I can say is that it's I am a supporter of both. I am a PBA member. I am a USBC paying member. From a PBA standpoint, I don't get to bowl a lot of their events anymore, but I still support it. I still pay my dues. I still follow their code of ethics, so I'm not going to sit here and talk poorly about it. I just don't have all the specifics, but I hope at some point they continue to kind of have a joint venture where they can kind of coexist and essentially get it to the point where they just get back to the basics, understanding we're all on the same page, and really what that needs to be is to grow the sport. If that can come out of it, yeah, great. We got Twisters are garbage. Allentown still has them. Yeah, when they sold the Twister pins, they were kind of sold as, hey, they're supposed to last longer. They're supposed to cut down on respots, because it's a fully synthetic pin versus having wood in the inside. They spoke a good game, but the other thing that they do is you have to go through and you have to adjust all your machines to essentially accommodate for them, because they're just a little different material. You got to, depending on your machine types, you got to adjust how your respots work. They're kind of a real pain. Can twisters be identified easily? Yes, they have a black script on the neck, so the neck of the pin doesn't have stripes on it. It is just a black script that says Twister, and if you can't identify it, you can hear it. Like, if I hear a ball hit a Twister pin, I know it's a Twister pin. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Matt, LIV versus PGA, I don't think that's what it's getting into. But, who really knows when it comes down to it. But the one thing I'll say for anyone that's on here listening, and that when you're talking about USBC or PBA or leagues or Bolero or bowling centers or anything is I think one of the things that we as competitive bowlers, league bowlers, and something that we sometimes lose sight of is how important we are to the equation of kind of solidifying the game and supporting it to continued growth. So I'll speak for our area here. We've had three centers here where that were purchased, and I know Bolero came in, and prices are starting to go up, and it kind of really could rub people the wrong way and not understanding the cost. But the easiest way for me to explain it to everybody is I have a little small 8-lane center, right? And it costs an incredible amount of money to essentially even do the upkeep of, you got to pay electric, you got to pay for the lights, you got to pay to have those machines running, you got to pay for oil. There's a cost associated with everything, and it's not cheap to operate a bowling lane, okay? And when you're in centers where we're going into league meetings and trying to negotiate paying $3 or $2.50 or something for a league lineage, we are doing a huge injustice to the proprietor, okay? The reason that the prices seem so high for like Bolero coming in is that too often around here at the mom and pops places or in central PA here, we've paid way too little for way too long to the local proprietors. We needed to be paying more for a game of bowling. We needed to be paying more for our lineage. We need to be paying more for our shoe rentals. We need to be paying more for the food that we're eating at their snack bars, okay? And I'm not saying to match inflation. I'm calling the cost, okay? Now, what happens is these proprietors through these years haven't been able to make enough money of open play or off their league bowlers to continue to put money back into the facility because they've been being undercut and beaten up and beaten up. And they just try to keep the doors open. So they really just got into a situation where they had to run it into the ground until they couldn't operate it and sell it or shut its doors, or they sell it to a bigger corporation who has the money in the background that's going to turn it into more of a parlor setting because they know that the open play is going to support and the open play is going to be there. Too many of us stop and won't bowl leagues, or we don't bowl, we don't practice at all. So we don't go back and support the proprietor. We're not doing what we could do to go in and bring a new bowler into the setting, right? So, like for me, I almost challenge everybody to say, go out and bowl some extra games. Go out and try to get a new bowler that's involved. And you'll quickly see, like, if you make the product desired, that league bowling looks more desirable or can sustain the amount of money needed to properly operate a center, we can make league bowling more prevalent than open bowling again. But until we all understand that aspect, you're going to see a lot more of this, and it's going to be a sticker shock because we've been paying too little for too long, and now it's just coming back to say, wow, this seems excessive. And really it's not. I mean, in line for what we should be paying, those prices should have went up a long time ago. What do we got here? Kyle, now that Alvernia has a bowling team, what conference will you be in and what home center will you bowl at? So it's a good question. Kyle, we're probably likely going to be ending up in the Allegheny Valley because the main conference for our school, which is the MAC conference, does not have women's bowling. So we're going to be kind of freelance in that aspect. And obviously, what home center we bowl at, we're probably going to bowl in my center. It just makes more sense as a intimate setting to kind of get these girls into a facility where they are not affected by open play. We actually have some really state-of-the-art stuff that we use in there between torches and board boxes, and we will eventually probably be putting in a full specto unit as well. So the facility is being geared and upgraded, all the time. So we want to put them somewhere where they're not interrupted by the general public, and we can kind of have some closed sessions and kind of get to work. Blah, blah, blah. What is my opinion on Innovative Bowling Pro Shop School? Thinking of attending, but wish it was sponsored by Brunswick. So, Don, to answer your question there, I mean, Innovative is John Jameson. He's been one of the biggest supporters of bowling. Innovative is an incredible opportunity for somebody to go to. John Jameson's also tied in with Vice Inserts. So essentially, um, you're getting the best of the best. Whether, whoever sponsored is fine. Look, you're going there and you're going to work with Hank Boomershine. Hank's one of the smartest minds in the game. Okay. I don't care if he works for, is, one of the hires up for Storm, Rotogrip. I think the biggest thing we as individuals can do here is that, yeah, I'm a Brunswick guy. Okay. But I was just at a trade show and, a bunch of us are out golfing and Hank's there and there's other people from Dexter Shoes and everything. Like, we're just people, right? So we don't have to have, I don't want to say boundaries, but I don't dislike anybody from because they throw a Storm bowling ball or a Rotogrip ball. Like, I don't, to me, it doesn't matter. That's just what you're backing and what you kind of believe in. So, like, I would not go to an innovative school because it's sponsored by somebody other than Brunswick, because we wouldn't expect you to feel like you have to be that loyal either. I mean, John does an incredible job of that school. There's really no other one that's close to it. So if you're thinking about going to a pro shop school, that's the one you want to go to. You're going to get treated right. You're going to get time on the mills. I've never personally gone to it. I like to think that I kind of innovate on my own, not stealing his innovative name, but like everything I know about pro shop is things I've learned along the way or acquired, and I'm always trying to come up with the next best thing to try to help other people. So, whatever route you decide to go, there's a lot of good options out there, but just go in open-minded and don't worry about who sponsors something, man. Just, go all in if it's something that matches up for what you need. Jason. Need to grow the sport by bringing in new faces. I'm looking at both my kids in the sport. Now if my 5-year-old's starting league this year. And absolutely, Jason. I mean, too often everybody says, the kids are the future of the sport. And they are, right? That's, you go to junior gold. Like I went for this year. And while I may not 100% agree with having as many divisions as they have and how big it's gotten, it's just awesome to see that amount of support that the kids are getting from their parents and trying to get the interaction and the coaching involvement and the ball brands behind it and trying to kind of get the interaction there. That's encouraging, and I think that's great. But I think, like, if we think about it, like, too often, like, maybe I'm guilty of it too, right? So, like, I feel like, in this game, I'm okay. I'm advanced, you know what I mean? Like, I can bowl, I'm pretty good, and I like to bowl in scratch leagues and stuff, but I actually feel like I myself could do more by maybe joining like maybe like a handicap league or an upstart league and trying to bring in one brand new bowler and not really caring what the prize fund is, or if I feel like I can impact them from the shop side and helping them and doing lessons and stuff, but I think even myself I could do better to try to kind of entice somebody that maybe is maybe a leisure bowler and try to get him into the league basis and help us kind of solidify what we're doing. But honestly, I think the trouble is that we kind of give ourselves a black eye because in our sport, there is so many opportunities that we have over the years to gain more credible sponsorships and things along that line. But we shoot ourselves in the foot because of the negativity we create when it comes to social media and the negativity that we post almost daily about whether it's the upkeep of a facility, calling a place a dump, not supporting a proprietor, complaining about the lineage, complaining about a tournament director, complaining about a bowling ball, complaining about nationals. It's just constant negativity that's around. So, like, if you look at sports, okay, in general, and not just bowling, all right? When any company, big or small, is going to decide on becoming a sponsor, whether it's on a smaller scale, a title sponsor, anything like that, I am letting you know that they are doing market research, okay? They're going to do market research to try and understand the demographic and the outreach, so how it goes out to everybody, right? How is it received? How is it received in this household? What age demographic is it? And when they really go in to figure out, okay, is this an avenue we want to go to support something? They do their market research and they find how much swirling negativity is there by the actual participants themselves, and they pull out. We have lost so many opportunities over the years because of that very reason, because we as bowlers are too negative about the sport in general. Everything is a problem. If one by one, each one of us can turn items, thoughts, approach, or anything into positives about how much we say we love the sport, we would be further along. We would be better paid. We would have more prime time slots. The biggest thing we've had lately is getting onto Fox. I mean, it's huge, and you would imagine how many people still complain about that. It's just absolutely crazy. Like, we got to embrace it. We as people in general, and it's not just bowling, gang. It's just it's life, right? If we really kind of figure out positives and take our energy that we would put into a negative and pull and extract one good thing that we could do with that energy instead of being negative, we'd all be in a pretty good place. But I think we dwell too much on the wrong thing. So, and I'm human as well, okay? So I'm not coming down on it, but like I'm guilty of doing the same things. Like, oh my God, it's 500 degrees in this bowling center. Oh, I hate their approaches. I'm guilty of that but you know what? I just need to gear it in a different way to make it more desirable, to make the sport what we want it to be, and that goes with supporting proprietors and going out there and bowling tournaments and just making the sport as good as it can be. And Jeanette, yes, we have some storm balls that are Labor Day sale. There are some there. That includes all the anything brand new from Storm Roto. It's all there. So outside of the sale too, anything new you're looking for, we got it. All right, I've been on here for over an hour, which we all know I love to talk. So how about any last minute maybe questions, things you all want to talk through that I can answer for you before I kind of cut it off for the night here? And then after that, we will essentially, kind of, stay tuned going into next week. I'm sure I'll be doing something next week as far as a broadcast, whether it's having a guest on, talking in more detail about maybe one of these particular balls or anything your heart desires that you all want to hear out there. Even if it comes down to just talking a little bit more of, just bowling in general, because I think, at the tail end here, and the things I'm talking about now, I think are sometimes even more critical to what we can do together to kind of make the sport what it needs to be. So it is, it's an unbelievable opportunity we have. And, the sooner that we understand that and we start getting along and we start supporting things in the right way, this game will come back even more mighty than you could absolutely positively fathom of what's in front of us. You just got to change the mindset, right? Change the mindset. Go back to it. Give you my selling point. You got to be better than yesterday, man. You have to be better than yesterday. If you are better than yesterday and you have that mentality going into everything and each and every day that you go, I guarantee you things get better, all right? And that includes our sport, our work life, our home life, whatever you want to do. Just get wake up tomorrow morning and think of one positive. And if it's bowling related, I challenge everybody on here. Talk to a person about bowling. Talk to them about maybe a league. Talk to them about what you love about it. Post maybe tomorrow something on a positive note about what you love so much about the game. And if you want, tag me. I think it'd be pretty awesome to see what taglines we come up with and what people are kind of, thinking about the game and kind of getting their head, going in the right direction. All right. Chad, last one you have on there, how things are going in Alvernia. We're in full recruitment mode. So we have, we can't discuss, we are an NCAA school. So, we can't discuss by names and things like that until, students are actually enrolled and things like that. But a lot of things are in full motion. We've had a lot of visitations. We have a lot of individuals who are taking the necessary steps to apply. We are looking to be very competitive. We'll leave it at that in the 2023-24 campaign. So we get things kicked off. We're going to hit the ground running, and I think we're gonna make some buzz pretty quickly. So It's going to be pretty awesome getting to work beside my other half, Carrie, and just on another awesome opportunity to kind of grow the sport of bowling and mold some minds here. So we're pumped. But all right, looks like the questions have kind of stalled out a little bit there. So hopefully everybody enjoyed seeing my smiling face again. I'm glad everybody kind of tuned in, kind of got a back on track here, and kind of getting the broadcast flowing again. But we will have you stay tuned. Just remember those dates: September 6th through the 10th. That's the massive sale. No appointments are needed. Come on in, work with one of us in at the center to kind of understand what maybe one of the closeout or new releases are good for you. We can get your purchase made that day, get you on the schedule to actually get it drilled. And again, if you don't want me to drill it, that's fine. I just will say that during the sale, there's going to be some additional discounts when it comes to the drilling side of it on the vouchers. But if you just want to come in and do cash and carry or whatever you want, that's totally fine as well. It's completely up to you. No harm in that. So stop on by, kind of check us out there, and we'll be seeing everybody soon. All right, everybody have a good night. Thanks.